Hello, class. Today we're going to learn about Punnett squares, an intro. So, how do we actually track how traits are passed on from generation to generation? We use letters, which scientists also call alleles. Capital letters are for dominant traits, and lowercase letters are for recessive traits. And we use two letters to describe what trait a person has because we all have two biological parents. It is important to know that we get our traits from our parents, whether we see those traits in our parents or not. Sometimes your parents will have dominant traits and you will receive the recessive trait from the parents. So they don't actually show the recessive trait, but they may still have the genes for it. So, dominant versus recessive. Again, the dominant traits are the stronger traits. So if there's one of each, it's going to overpower the recessive trait. This happens quite often with many traits that we will cover. So the dominant traits are the stronger traits. The recessive traits are the weaker traits. These are the ones where you need both a recessive gene from mom and a recessive gene from dad in order to show the recessive trait. It's not always a sad thing, but I didn't know what other picture to put. All right, so the letter combinations, which we talked about the other day, you can have two capital letters, which would give you a dominant trait. So, for example, if you got two capital letters for the eye color, you would have like brown eyes. If you got a capital letter and a lowercase letter, it does not matter the combination or the way that it's written. It could be big then little, it could be little then big. It doesn't matter. Either way, you're going to get a dominant trait. If it has a capital letter in it anywhere, it's going to show the dominant trait. And then finally, you have two little letters, which will give you the recessive trait. So this would be blonde hair, it would be blue eyes or green eyes, it would be not having freckles, and so on and so forth. There are many recessive traits. All right, so here is what a Punnett square looks like. This is a diagram that's used to predict genotypes of an organism. So this could be humans, it could be plants, it could be animals, it doesn't really matter. But most of the time when we are talking about traits, we are talking about two organisms that reproduce sexually. So we'll always have like a female character and a male character. In this case, we're talking about human traits, so I labeled them with mom and dad. Mom's genotype for this unidentified trait is a capital B and a capital B. So we've put that into this chart here and split those B's up. This box here will never be filled in, this corner box. It's just there for looks. Dad, on the other hand, has two little letters for his genotype for this unidentified trait, right? The arrows show you how to categorize that into these four boxes. So it's very similar to like a multiplication table where you kind of look at what is on the top and what is on the side, and you kind of put them together. So this capital B will be brought down. That's what this arrow is for, and it will go here. It will also be brought down to the lower box. So you'll have a capital B here, and a capital B here. Same for over here. You will also have a capital B here and a capital B here. Those are all of mom's genes. Those are the four boxes that it could go into. Dad will do the same thing, but from the side. So his little b will go over here next to the capital B. His little b will also go to this farther box next to the capital B, and so on and so forth. The bottom is the same. So it eventually will look like this. So I left them in their colors. So the capital B's got brought down to both boxes on the left and on the right. The little b's were brought over to the boxes next to it, both on the top and on the bottom. So now we have four combinations here. These are the four that we want to focus on. These are where we get our percentages for what the offspring might get. Now, if mom has two capital B's and the dad has two lowercase b's, all of the children will get the same exact genotype. No matter how many children they have, every single one of them is going to get a capital B and a lowercase b. That doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. That just means that mom has a dominant trait and carries both dominant genes, where dad has a recessive trait and carries both recessive genes. So all of their children will end up with the dominant trait, no matter what. So in this case, 100% of their offspring will end up with the dominant trait. Now, how did I get to 100%? The percentage rates are done by looking at those four boxes. So I colored them gray for you, so it made it a little bit easier. If you have four boxes and you divide 100% by 4, you'd get 25. Like $1 split into 4 is actually 4 quarters. Each quarter is worth 25, right? So each box is worth 25%. So if we're looking at this example, we have the same thing, right? We've got a big B and a little b in each of the boxes. So what percentage of the offspring will be dominant? 100%. So what does that leave for the offspring that are recessive? 0, right? You always want this number, these two numbers, to add up to 100%. You cannot have more, you cannot have less. It will always equal 100%. We are never incorporating mom or dad's genotypes into this percentage. We're only looking at what the offspring could be. So, for example, if mom has brown hair and carries both of the dominant genes, and dad has blonde hair and carries both of the recessive genes, every single child will have brown hair. Here is another example. This time I gave you a key. Freckles are dominant. They have the capital letter. No freckles is recessive. They have the lowercase letter. So here I left mom kind of up at the top. She has a capital B this time and a lowercase b. Dad has two lowercase letters. So if you carry this capital B down to both boxes below it, and this lowercase b down to both boxes below it, and then you take the lowercase b from dad and bring it over to these two boxes, and this lowercase b from dad over to these two boxes. These are the results that you come up with. Capital lowercase, 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 and lowercase, lowercase. So what percentage of the offspring will be dominant? We know that if you have a combination of both, the dominant trait will take over the recessive trait. So the offspring will show the dominant trait. There are 2 boxes with the dominant trait. Dominant in this case is freckles. So we're looking at half of the children getting freckles, half of them not, or at least their chances are 50, 50. So there's a 50% chance that the kids will get freckles, and there's a 50% chance that the kids won't get freckles. And that is it for today.